This is a special live report of About Space Today. The launch of Starliner.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This is About Space, America's return to space. With news and information on the U.S. manned space program is your host of About Space, David Denault.
Basically, everybody is in line.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us on this Friday. It is now just, 6:32. We will launch at 6:36. We've got about 4 minutes to launch, and then we'll carry this through all the way up to orbital status. I'm David Denault, and joining me this morning is Rick Potlot, our Washington Bureau Chief. Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good morning, everybody. We are a go for launch at the Cape Canaveral Launch Complex, and momentarily we'll be joining Doug Lebo, who's the Starliner launch chief. They have just completed their, what they call the poll of everybody to give us the final go for launch.
And you know, this is really a historic moment for Boeing. They have developed a little bit different spacecraft than the folks over at SpaceX. The capsule itself, Rick, is about 3 times the size of the Apollo capsule.
Right, it's 16.5 feet high and 15 feet wide. It can hold up to 7 astronauts, where Apollo only held 3, but NASA will only carry 3 to 4 people at a time because they want to utilize 7 people coming back if they need to in an emergency.
And the other thing that NASA's challenge to both SpaceX and Boeing was to have a spacecraft that we could launch. We do not need pilots anymore, so we're going to be putting up scientists, astronauts.
Right. This is basically NASA's version of Uber.
Indeed. But and so today, of course, is an unmanned test flight. There is cargo aboard. Rick, how much did they say?
Right, 600 pounds of cargo. Now, there are 2 things that are substituting for humans. One is called Rosie the Mannequin. Now, she's got 15 sensors for Starliner launch control to manage, to see how things will react inside the capsule. And Snoopy the dog is also on board the space station as we approach 2.5 minutes to launch of the Starliner space capsule.
It's an amazing spacecraft. Unlike SpaceX, for example, Boeing has developed a concept of really being the Uber, as Rick said, kind of going back to low Earth orbit, and then, of course, bringing people to and from the International Space Station. And that in itself is quite an accomplishment, because this spacecraft, unlike the Space Shuttle, which went up, took astronauts, cargo, came back, these capsules will stay there for the term of whatever the assignment is. It could be 5 months, could be 6 months. So it's a totally different spacecraft than we're used to of having a space shuttle. So it has to sustain that and be ready as the lifeboat to return.
That is correct. And these capsules are designed to be reused. The Starliner is set to be reused up to 10 times. And they are designed to land on Earth as opposed to the splashdown. Now, Starliner can land in the water if necessary, but the plan is to land this particular capsule on the White Plains of Utah, if I'm not mistaken. And we are approaching 1 minute and 20 seconds to go before launch.
So as you can see there, it's poised, ready to go. Both spacecraft have been designed to have a propulsion system, so once they get up, they can maneuver, or the computers can maneuver. The other thing is that they can always take command. It's not one of those, well, gee, we're stuck in here if this thing doesn't work. No, they can still take over the commands manually and fly the Starliners.
1 minute, David.
We're at T-minus 1 minute. Are we hearing anything from Mission Control yet?
Everything's a go so far.
All right. We're watching what you're seeing here as well. This is the NASA feed, and still really early in the morning there. The temperatures, the wind should be no problem, and if they've just cleared all of that, we'll as soon as they begin to
When we
go to
get
countdown.
Yeah, in about 5 seconds, we're going to turn and watch with you guys. So right now, let's switch over, and we're at T-minus 30, and let's take a look.
Okay.
Range green. 54.
BLP started.
Seconds.
T-minus 25 seconds.
Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go Starliner.
Go Starliner. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. The rise of Starliner and a new era in human spaceflight.
Clear the tower. Now 10 seconds into flight. Vehicle's begun the pitch over program. Body rate responses look good. Now 15 seconds in. VU's gone to closed loop control. RD-180 looks good at full thrust. Seeing good chamber pressure on both SRVs. Now 26 seconds into flight. RD-180 now throttling down to partial thrust as expected. Engine response looks good. Now 38 seconds in. RD-180 engine operating parameters continue to look good. Vehicle is now passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. Chamber pressures on both SRVs continue to look good. RD-180 engine operating parameters also continue to look good. Now passing 1 minute into flight. And Mach 1, Atlas 5 is now supersonic. And vehicle now throttling up. Engine response looks good. Continue to see good chamber pressure on both SRVs. 1 minute, 20 seconds into flight. Body rate responses on the vehicle look good. 1 minute, 30 seconds in, standing by for SRV burnout. And we have burnout on both solid rocket boosters. Atlas will hold on to the SRBs for an additional 48 seconds prior to jettison. RD-180 has gone back up to full thrust as expected. Engine response looks good. 1 minute, 50 seconds in. Atlas is now 17 miles in altitude, 11.5 miles downrange distance, traveling at 2,300 miles per hour. Now passing 2 minutes into flight. RD-180 engine operating parameters continue to look good at full thrust. And at 2 minutes, 11 seconds into flight, the Atlas rocket now weighs just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of 2,800 pounds per second. And we've seen good indication of jettison of both solid rocket boosters. Vehicle's gone to closed loop guidance. Now just under 2 minutes remaining in the booster phase of flight. 2 minutes, 35 seconds into flight. RD-180 continues to perform well. Engines now throttling
apparently
down
we're go for orbit here as well. As you can see, the burn is nice and clean.
And Atlas
they've reached what, Mach 5 already?
Right, already at Mach 5. This is a picture-perfect launch for
Centaur reaction control
Boeing,
systems now pressurized
for
into
the
flight
United
levels.
Launch
Response looks good.
Alliance,
which is Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and NASA. They have to be
3 minutes,
extremely
10 seconds
pleased
into
with the
flight.
way things have gone so far.
Well, you know,
Atlas 5 is
the
now
Atlas
38
has
miles an
been one
altitude,
of our
80
most
miles down
reliable
distance, traveling at
rockets for
5,800
launch. It goes
miles per
back
hour.
to the early days of our space program with Mercury. And now that we've put the Atlas and the Centaur together, we've used that for satellites into space. And now we will have a launch assembly that will take our astronauts to low Earth orbit to the International Space Station. It's our own, I guess we would say, America's version of Uber to the space station. We're going to have more NASA scientists, and also you would start to expect now that there will be more experiments. If you have been following this, and in the weeks ahead, we'll be talking about a unique program for students. It's called Hunch. And the pictures that you're still seeing there is just a little dot in the sky, but it still has to be one of the most magnificent sights for Boeing this morning and their Starliner spacecraft. Here we're back to the Launch Control Center, and I presume everything is going to continue to go well. That's a beautiful picture there from right out on the point across the bay from where they launch. And Complex 41 is actually on the Cape Canaveral portion of the Space Center. So you have what is the land portion, Cocoa, and then you'd have like a Merritt Island. That's where the John F. Kennedy Space Center is located, where we've launched the Saturn V's to the moon. And then on out is the Patrick Air Force Base or Air Force Station as well, Cape Canaveral as most of us know it. Still monitoring, I guess, everything as a spacecraft continues. Rick?
Right, they've just had the separation of the first stage. And just so everybody knows, this is not a direct flight. It's going to take 24 hours to catch up to the ISS through the orbital.
And we have good indication of aerospace.
Right. Well, yeah, you just got to, whatever they say, what do you call it? Circular.
Yeah, to catch up to the orbit.
Yeah.
And then once it gets to the space station, they will use the Canada arm to grab onto the capsule and then dock it. And then that's part of the what they will call the proof of performance, to get the capsule, dock it, unload the cargo, and then release it so it will come back to Earth. And it's due to come back to Earth December the 28th and land at the White Plains landing area.
So we have seen a very successful launch this morning, and they will continue. Rick, are they? Have we had Miko get the main engine shut off? All right, so we've passed that, and Rick is monitoring the flight status from Mission Control. And we hope that you've enjoyed part of our coverage here. I would probably say this is a go, and we will expect everything to continue.
Knock on wood, this was a good one for NASA
and
for Boeing and for Lockheed Martin, because they're part of this.
So, by the way, if this is your first time joining us on About Space Today, you can always find us on the various media circuits there, but also you can tune in direct to us. Each Tuesday we release a different episode on a man's vision of what we're going to be seeing now to the space station, to Moon, and Mars. So we'll have some updates on that as well. But every Tuesday we release a new version, and you can find us at aboutspacetoday.lisbon, LISBYN.com. aboutspacetoday.lisbon.com. And you can continue to follow the space program on America's Return to Space. I'm David Denault along with Rick Podlock, and we hope that you enjoyed this coverage and will join us on a weekly basis as well. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.